The biblical concept of faith, like most concepts in the Bible, needs to be understood in a covenantal context, like a marriage context. And to have faith in a marriage context, a covenant context, is to trust, put your trust that the other person will be a faithful covenant partner, but it's also a pledge that you will be a faithful covenant partner. You're having faith in the covenant. This covenant's going to work. Why? Because I trust you and you trust me. That's faith in the covenant context. It's not mere belief. That'd be like saying getting married is a matter of believing that your wife exists. That's not quite a marriage. No, it's about having faith in the marriage and being faithful in the marriage. When you think kingdom, don't think courtroom, think marriage. When you think faith, when you think through the Bible, our relation with God, don't think courtroom, think marriage, covenant. That's why, from a biblical perspective, to have faith absolutely has consequences on your behavior. It can't help but have consequences on your behavior. That's why James says that faith without works is dead. It's dead. It's useless. Faith without works is mere belief. And even the demons believe. It doesn't do them a bit of good. Faith goes way beyond belief. Now, it's not that we're earning anything. This isn't about works. We're not impressing God. We're not earning anything. Okay, this isn't salvation by works. This is salvation by faith. But genuine faith has an implication on your behavior because you're entering into a covenant. Number 3, have you ever noticed that the Bible talks about salvation quite different than many Americans do? The Bible talks about salvation in 3 tenses, past, present, and future. So Paul says, for example, in Ephesians 2, God made us alive with Christ when we were dead in transgressions. It is by grace you have been saved, past tense. So you have been saved. When you surrendered your life to Christ, you were saved, past tense. But it also talks about salvation in the present tense. Did you ever notice that? For example, 1 Corinthians 1. Paul says, for the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God. To those who are in the process of perishing, it's foolishness, but to us who are in the process of being saved, that's an interesting thing. We Americans don't talk like that very much. We always say, are you saved? We don't say, are you in the process of being saved? The Bible does. Then the Bible also talks about salvation in the future tense, Romans chapter 5. For if while you were God's enemies, we were reconciled to him through the death of his son, how much more, having been reconciled, shall we be saved through his life? Future tense. I have been saved, I'm being saved, I shall be saved. Now, the reason we don't talk that way very much in American Protestant circles especially is because we have a courtroom analogy that sort of governs our whole thinking about salvation. And in the courtroom analogy, it makes no sense to talk that way. You either signed the deal or you didn't. It's a legal transaction. But see, if you think in terms of covenant, it makes perfect sense. I was married, I am being married, I shall be married. It's a relationship that occurs over time. I was saved when I first surrendered my life to Christ because now God says, okay, good. Now I got something to work with. I can plant my mustard seed kingdom in him. I can start taking the garbage out. But I'm also being saved because garbage is still being taken out. And I shall be saved because when all the garbage is taken out, then the light of truth will come on and it will be clear that I am in fact fit for the kingdom. God has made me fit for the kingdom. All 3 tenses apply. Think about it this way. When I got married, when I pledged my life to my wife, my pledge of life was not the life that I pledged. The life that I pledged was the life I've lived every moment after I made that pledge. The quality of my marriage isn't, in fact, the fact of my marriage isn't determined by the fact that I once upon a time pledged my life to my wife. The quality of my marriage and the fact of my marriage is determined by the fact that now I'm living the life that I pledged to give her. So the question is not, did I pledge my life 29 years ago, but am I pledging my life now? Am I living out that pledge? Am I surrendering this moment to her? Am I continuing to abide in this relationship? The only life I have to give my wife is the life I'm living right now. The past is gone, the future's not here. I'm in the now. So the question is am I pledging it to her now? Am I living out that pledge? It's the same thing in our relationship with Christ. It's wonderful that once upon a time you surrendered your life to Christ and you pledged your life to Christ. That was a good start. But the content of that commitment is determined by what you do with your life. The real life that you live moment by moment by moment. And so the important question is not did you surrender your life to Christ 18 years ago or 80 years ago. Are you surrendering your life to Christ right now? Because the only life you have to surrender is the one you're living this moment, and now this moment, and now this moment. So what it means is that we need to learn to cultivate a surrendered life. Jesus wants to be Lord of our life. That's what it means to be in the kingdom. But that's not a magical, pretend, fictional thing. He wants to be Lord of our life, and that means Lord of this moment, the whole moment, this now. Because the only life I've got is this one, right here and right now. That's what it means to live in reality. Reality is always in the now. And so, folks, we've got to cultivate really a surrendered awareness of God's presence moment by moment in our life and turning over our mornings, afternoons, and evenings to Him, living in this surrendered life. Because as we do that, we're making this moment and now this moment a kingdom moment, a moment over which God reigns. And as we do that, He pumps His kingdom life into our life, and He takes out the trash. And now our lives begin to be changed. And you find as you walk with God moment by moment, as you strive to do that, it's a habit, it's a hard habit to cultivate. Read Brother Lawrence's Practicing the Presence of God for a good start on this. But as you do that, your life changes. It just changes. You gradually take on kingdom characteristics, the fruit of the Spirit. You look at people different. You look at yourself different. You have different attitudes. Your tastes change. What you used to find funny is not funny anymore, but other things are funny. You're growing to be a person who's fit for the kingdom. That's what it is to really surrender life to God. This moment and now this moment. And this is the meaning, folks, of salvation. This is the meaning of the kingdom. This is the meaning of faith. This is the meaning of justification. This is the meaning of living in real Christianity, where Jesus is really Lord and you're really a follower, instead of this pretend, courtroom, fictional, magical stuff. So spend one moment doing this. Holy Spirit, will you right now just remind us that you're present here? Take a breath and realize that the Holy Spirit's closer to you than that breath, and you need Him more than that breath. And right now, this moment, which is the only reality you've got, will you surrender it to Him? Surrender your life to Christ. And the minute your heart says yes to that, you're making this a kingdom moment. And can you maintain that attitude all the while I'm talking now? Surrendered to Him. Surrender that moment. This may be the first time you've ever done that. Good. Welcome to the kingdom. Maybe that you did that 80 years ago. Fine. This is what's real. Surrender now, in this moment. As you do that, you might notice when you surrender, you turn the light on, the light of truth comes on, you might immediately notice you got some trash that doesn't belong in the kingdom. Don't get mad at the trash. Don't hate the trash. Don't judge the trash, because that's just more trash. You can't get rid of trash by piling on more trash. Hating yourself for all the garbage in your life isn't going to do any good. No, all you do is just say, Lord, when I surrender myself over to you, I surrender the garbage. Will you take this out? Will you just take this out and turn it over to Him? He's a great garbage collector. Just send that to hell, Gehenna. I don't need that anymore. Just surrender it over to Him. You can't do that on your own, but let Him take it from you. Now, it may be the case, Holy Spirit, keep working in our lives. It may be the case that you don't want to surrender your trash because you've always sat on that trash like it was a couch. You always thought it belonged in your house. You actually like the smell of that trash. In fact, you eat that trash for breakfast. You're a trasher, and you like it, and you can't say how you're going to do life without that trash. Okay, turn the light of truth on. If that's what's true, then be true. Surrender that whole thing over to God. And just say, God, I still want this, but I want to not want it. And so will you take my wants and change my desires and change my trashy ways? And as you surrender moment by moment, it may not be right this instant, but what you'll find is that the garbage really does start to smell. And it doesn't taste so good after a while. And you really begin to see that you're way above this. You're putting on your new self. You're putting off that old trash self. It's like, what was I ever thinking when I invited this into my house? And then you get rid of it. And this is how God grows us. He takes the garbage out.